Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Flags in a Gym, a podcast dedicated to all things color guard. My name is Eric, and I'm your host and resident color guard nerd. And today's episode is the next installment in my 2026 regional recaps, and we're talking about the Corning Regional. We have some guards to talk about, plus some news and notes from the other regionals. So sit back, relax, and let's talk some color guard. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Today we are talking about the Corning Regional that was broadcast this past weekend on February 14th, Valentine's Day. I hope you all had a great Valentine's Day or a Singles Depreciation Day or a Love Yourself Day or whatever you call it. I just hope you had a great day. Many groups got to go out and premiere, and I know many people were excited about that. But this is our second regional weekend, and outside of the Corning Regional on Flow, we had Huntsville with a Regional Plus event, Clayton down in North Carolina, and then Salem in the Boston area. We still don't have any news on any reclassifications from the first weekend, but we'll keep some eyes peeled on that one. And as of this recording on Sunday, nothing has broken. But as I said before, WGI is not going to really announce this. We're going to find out by the guards either announcing it themselves or just looking at a schedule and be like, oh, they moved up. Just keep an eye on that one. Score rankings are also up. I recommend looking at bandscores.net. It is a great site, and you can follow them on Instagram as well. They do amazing work. They compile all the color guard, percussion, wind scores. They do local circuits, so you can see what everybody is scoring, even at their circuit shows. And they're doing the rankings too, so you can see them before WGI gets it done, because WGI kind of drags their feet on this a little bit. So definitely check out bandscores.net. Not sponsored. I just really like the site. I use it all the time. Just a quick follow-up on some questions I had from the last episode that people reached out to me. So that singer's name, Laufey, that I thought was Lofi, apparently it's pronounced Leve. So I got an answer on that. Thank you to Dania Cabrera over on Facebook. She was the one that let me know how Leve is properly pronounced. And then a big shout out to Gabriella and the rest of the team over at Anasadora. Gabriella was lovely to let me know that's how it's pronounced. So it's Anasadora. No need to overcomplicate it. We had a good laugh over on Instagram about it, but it is pronounced Anasadora. So thank you, girl. And thank you to the people over at Anasadora. You know I'm rooting for you this year. Just a reminder, if you didn't listen to the first recap episode on how this is going to go down, here's a little refresher for you. Remember, it is early and guards are not done, although most of the guards at the Corning Regional were complete. I don't think they've had the big snow issues that the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic has had. And plus, let's be real, these New York and Pennsylvania guards and all the way up there, they're used to snow. They know how to deal with this. So if they did get it, it wasn't as big of a hindrance to them. So some of these groups might not be done and they're still droppy. It's fine. It's not clean. It's the second week of February. When we get into March, that's where we're going to be like, okay, guys, you really got to start cleaning this up. Remember, the flow camera isn't the best. So images on flags aren't super clear. So I'm going off of what I can see. So I said it in the previous one. If I say, oh, they have this beautiful flower on their flag and it's actually a dinosaur or something like that, I'm sorry. I'm going off what the camera is. And I'm also adding something new to the recaps this year. So for each guard, I'm just going to include a comment on what I would do or focus on if this were my program. Like watching the show, I'm going to go and work on this. Just my 2 cents. Take it or leave it. But just a little fun inclusion, I think. Let's talk about this regional specifically. So this was a smaller regional and there's not as many groups to cover. So this will be a shorter episode, which is great for me because next week is going to be crazy. I'm going to Indy and Philly's happening at the same time. And I plan to cover both. So pray for me, y'all. I'm going to experiment with something. We'll see what we do. I'm going to try to do like a live reaction after prelims in Indy and just kind of just give you my immediate thoughts like, this group was great. This group was doing something cool. Keep an eye on this one. I really love this, like a very quick abbreviated one. And then I'll do a follow-up episode going in depth on other, mainly the world groups and open because there are so many world guards at Indy. There are 12 Scholastic World, 5 or 6 Independent World, not to mention there's like 45,000 open groups there. I mean, it's a ginormous regional. And then Philly's happening at the same time. So I'm going to do what I can to get it all out. I probably won't be able to give everybody all the love they deserve, but I also don't want to release a 4-hour episode because you guys don't want to listen to a 4-hour episode. Just pray for me, y'all. We'll figure it out. We'll get through it. And I promise I'll give you the best content that I can. Before we get into the Corning groups, let's go over a couple tidbits from the other regionals, as lots of groups had their premiere, as I mentioned before. Down in Carolina, we had Etude and First Flight pop some big numbers down there, so that's very interesting. Etude's got like an 82 something, and then Etude with an 82. That's kind of like that's a little sign. You guys premiered with an 82, and your name is Etude. Look, if you're one of those people, stars aligning, knock on wood, karma cap, all that stuff. Look at that. It's a little sign for you. But First Flight popped out with a big number, and then we had Holly Springs and some Scholastic A guards also premiered. But remember, the Carolinas were hammered with snow. So when you're looking at these scores, most of these groups were not done. I mean, the Mid Atlantic got hit. That big snowstorm that kind of came across and kind of hit everybody. I think it was Winter Storm Fern. I think they named her Fern, like Fern Mayo, hold the Mayo. Please tell me if you got that reference. And then about a week later, they're like, "Oh, there's more snow coming." And I'm sitting here at home like, "No, please, God, no." And that storm swung south of me and like smashed the Carolinas. So they got hit by that snow and ice storm that we all got. And then they got a foot of snow on top of it. So the Carolina groups are very behind. So when you're seeing these low 70s, that's why. They're just not done. They're going to catch up. So the Carolina scores were a little low, but it was out of their hands. We move up to Boston. You had Blessed Sacrament popping 83 up there. I haven't seen the show, but I do see they have some pole dancing in it, and I am all about it. I want to see this. I can't wait to see this. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to wait until they go to Georgia to see it at the end of the season. Then there's also two very good Scholastic A shows with Liverpool and Southington High School. Keep an eye on them. I have seen them. I'm not going to tell you how I saw them, because, these little links get flown around and I start finding them. And then they get yanked down about 2 hours later, but I managed to find them before they get yanked down. But they are very good, and keep an eye on them. I don't think Liverpool is going to Dayton, but Southington is, and just keep an eye on them, y'all. Trust me on this one. Keep an eye on them, okay? Then down in Alabama, we had Noir and Alta Maria premiere. Still keeping fingers crossed that Noir gets into the Dayton draw. If you don't know what's going on, Independent Open has a wait list of 8 groups right now, mainly because they only had 35 last year competing in prelims. They promoted 5 out of A class, and then all these groups came out in Independent Open. You had Vestige in Florida, Nova in Texas, Brigadiers came back out. You have like 3 groups coming from England or Europe. I think there's a Netherlands group that's coming back. So you have all of these groups that are trying to get into Open, and they cap it at 40 for some reason. So I'm hoping WGI will just kind of open up the rounds and just put 2 more in each round so we can get all 48 groups in. So if you want to make sure Noir or Emerald, like Noir was 7th in finals last year and they're on the wait list. Like this is crazy. So if you want to do what you can to help maybe grease the wheels with WGI, voice your opinion, right? We saw the Florida thing happen with the West Broward County or the Broward County schools, and people used their voice and they got it fixed. And so now the Broward County schools can go to the regionals and they can go to Dayton. So that's all fixed, and yay, we love that. So now let's work on Independent Open. Let's make it so these groups can get into championships because they've already paid to go there. They've booked their hotels and they're just waiting to see if they even get in. So voice your opinion. Let it be known. Hashtag let them spin and open. I don't know. Well, let's create a hashtag and get WGI hooked on it. Let's move into talking about the Corning Regional. First of all, we have to address this. The flow camera sucked for this regional. And I'm just going to be blunt. The site looked great. Like the gym they were performing in looked great. The audio on the feed was great too. I think they plugged like straight into the feed with the audio. So you could actually hear the music and you can hear the voiceovers. But the video feed was so jumpy. It was so difficult to watch at times. Like kids were literally teleporting around the floor. And I'm like, people are paying money for these feeds. And, I've mentioned this before when I've gone to a regional and I see the flow camera there. And it's this little dinky camcorder on a tripod. And I'm like, people are paying $150, $160 for a subscription to Flow so they can watch all this stuff. And, there's tons of people watching. Like, can we get a little better equipment? Try to make it so we're not having these issues? So we're going to talk about what I could see, but can we please get some better quality, please, Flo? Please, please, please. These kids deserve better. The parents that are probably watching their kids perform deserve better. Like, not every parent can make these trips. So they're going to watch on Flow so they can see their kid on TV, and they're watching their son or daughter just kind of teleport around the floor. Then all of a sudden the flag goes up in the air, and then it's immediately back down in their hands. Like, you don't see the beautiful lift and rotation. And it wasn't constant, but there were some groups where it was really bad. Like I think Victor High School, when they went on, it was just atrocious. I don't know if it was just the Wi-Fi signal or what was going on, but like I said, the audio was fine and the clarity of the video was fine, but the actual like the consistency of the feed was just terrible. But enough about me ragging on Flow. Let's talk about these wonderful color guards. So we're going to go through the classes. So there were no world programs here. We had one independent open guard, one independent A, and then the rest were A class. It was a smaller regional. And we're going to start with Regional A. Just we're going to acknowledge our Scholastic Regional A winner, which was Central Square JV. Their show is Telephone Line. It was a nice Regional A show. We're exploring basics. They're doing a great job here. Their varsity group was in A as well. Congrats. Keep up the work. Great job. Then our independent Regional A was New Hartford JV, and they were doing music from Hercules. They had the music from the Muses. Bless my soul, Herc was on a roll, Zero to Hero, and That's the Gospel Truth. So much fun. They had white pillars and they were like Grecian style grounds. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Let's move to Scholastic A. There were 16 guards in competition there, all made finals because the regional was just so small that everybody made it into finals. We're going to cover the top 8. So, 8th place was West Genesee High School, and their show was called The Picasso Project. And their floor was mainly a white floor that had some tan sections on it and a black section. And they had a single backdrop on the floor that blended right into one of the long tan sections. And on the white sections of the floor, there were some drawing lines on it. The guard was in all black with a Spanish flair to the costuming. Very difficult to see on camera, but when they turned, you could see like the ruffles and stuff like that. It's like, oh, okay, I can see what's going on. And then they had a single black guitar sitting on a stand in the center of the floor. It started with body and rifle. They had a cute rifle soloist, and then out comes this black and white flag. And the biggest thing about the show is the staging is very stationary and minimal. Like they don't move a whole lot. They just kind of park and bark and just kind of stay in the center of the floor. And there are some good little moments with some nice solid weapon catches, but it's very stationary. They have a beautiful flag ensemble with a pretty yellow flag with a red flower in the corner near the spin spot. So right on the pole, like where you would do your drop spins by the tab, there's a nice little red flower there. And like I said, the show is fine, but it's very pedestrian. It needs this is where what I would do is it needs an infusion of energy. And I would look at incorporating speed changes within one, the choreography, and two, the staging to give the show some vitality and energy and to use other sections of the floor than just dead center. I would say 80% of the staging was literally within the center of the floor of some sort. Let's move on to 7th place. We had Lancaster High School with their show Dog Days. And they had a mostly tan floor with some paw prints that were running along the back. And then they had some in the front side 2 corner. And they had 2 raised platforms on the back that spanned about 2/3 of the floor, kind of like 2 stairs up to a flat platform that they stacked on each other. They built it up and they start staged on the platform. And I think they're in like an olive green costume. It could be gray. This is flow camera. So I believe that's what it is. Girls are in like a nice pretty dress and they have one boy who's just like in the typical accompanying top and like velvet pants. Doesn't stand out, thankfully, because I don't know if you've seen the thing going around on Facebook complaining about boys in color guard and their uniforms. And, it's one of my big pet peeves. If you remember all the way back to episode 3, I talked about this where costuming your boys, the girls get these pretty custom dresses from wherever, whatever company you pick, Dance Sophisticates, Creative Costuming, a wish come true, but then they don't have a boy version. So you just go to Walmart and get a polo that is within the color family. It's like, oh, the girls are in aqua. Well, I found like this blue polo that's close enough. And then you put them in black Walmart pants and call it a day. No, 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 no. We don't do that. You get that boy a real uniform. You find a way to get him something so he's just as special as the girls and looks just as great as the girls. Let me get off my soapbox now. But back to Lancaster High School. So I'm pretty sure they're in olive green. And they have a large voiceover at the beginning talking about the dog days. I didn't truly understand it or catch it all. And they have saber and body throughout this whole section. And they have a nice little saber toss from about 6 of the performers. I think it was a quad, just a nice little A class, like, ooh, nice. Then they move into little vignettes, kind of going around the floor, capped with another ensemble saber toss. And then the soundtrack moves into Better Place by Rachel Platten. And that's the fight song chick, right? The fight song lady. This is my fight song. We know that song, right? I'm not going to keep going. But you know what? Sidebar, I need to get out and do some karaoke. I miss karaoke, and Daddy can tear up some karaoke. I don't have the best voice, but I can carry a tune and I can get that bar or that club, whatever, singing along with me. I am always put on a good show at karaoke. So the flags get introduced on the platform in the back, and we move into a rifle introduction. And a lot like West Genesee, I feel like this group park and barks a lot. So, and if you're going to do that, you need to put body in the work. Otherwise, you're just standing there spinning like you're in technique block. So they really need to focus on kinda infusing more body, even if it's leaning and lunging, just something instead of just standing there and spinning your equipment. They tend to take the time to do their dancing when they're moving and transitioning between equipment moments. So they stand still, they park and bark, do an equipment feature, then they transition to another park and bark. And in that transition is where they pull out these beautiful body moves. And I'm like, why don't you put that in with your equipment work? It's going to, one, increase the visual effect of your show. Two, the judges are going to love it because you're incorporating body and equipment at the same time. I mean, you're going to check multiple boxes on this one. And then they have a really cool all rifle section. It's a cute show. Just put some body in there, get them moving around instead of just standing there still spinning. Let's move on to sixth place with Grease High School. And this show had no title. They just said, performing their show, please welcome Grease High School. Grease like the country, not Grease like the musical. And they had a purple floor covered in stars, like lots of white dots and stars. To me, it was a little too much. I think you could have gotten by with a little less is more. But and they're in purple uniforms to match. And they have props that might be unfinished. I'm not sure what they represent. They look like they're meant to hold a panel or something in them, but they're blank right now. They're just black bars in like a triangle shape that are all, connected. So they're like 3 bars. I'm doing a terrible job explaining this, but if you're looking from the top down, it would look kind of like the Mercedes logo, just like kind of like or like a peace sign kind of. And they're just hollow, just bars, and they have a little silver thing sitting on top of them that's used later in the show. But I think they might not be finished because they kind of stage performers behind them at times. So I feel like they're supposed to be hiding performers, but they're not. So we'll just say that's a work in progress. I could be wrong. Their soundtrack is a mix of like Fly Me to the Moon, Sky Full of Stars, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and others. It's just very star, like, it's not a mega mix, but they like weave things in and out. I mentioned the piece that sits on top of the prop. It's motorized, and about right near the end of the show, they're doing a flag feature, and not all of the performers in the flag feature. They have like 6 kids that are sitting under the props, and they flip a switch, and the motor turns on, and it shoots like confetti everywhere. So have you ever seen like those the glitter bomb boxes that they use in prank videos? So that thing that just shoots out glitter. It's like that on top, but it shoots at these big pieces of silver mylar confetti. It's a cool effect, but if that's all these props are there for, I'm like, why are we doing this when you just have the girls throw it in the air? So I think there might be more to come with these props. I don't know. The show starts with a piano and a voiceover, and it's about looking up at the stars, and they open up with a purple and blue galaxy flag. And then there's a lot happening on the floor at once. They have rifles and sabers and flags and dancers. It's a lot. Plus these props that you just kind of see through. They move into a saber feature with turnarounds, which is nice. And then it continues till we get to the final flag feature, and then the glitter starts flying from the props. The show is fine. There are ideas there, but the connection needs some work. So that's where I would look, like connecting the ideas and then the props. Like I don't know what the deal with the props are. If I knew they were done, I'd be like, okay, well then you might want to relook at them, because if they're done, what are you doing with them? Why are they just sitting there? And if they're not done, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. They're not done. So we'll see. But great job, Grease. 5th place was Baldwinsville High School, and their show is called Torn to Pieces. And they're using the song I Don't Think About You by Kelly Clarkson. If you don't know the title, you've heard it. And they have a white floor with like indigo lines kind of cracking all over it. Like, almost look like ice breaking, but I think it's supposed to be like paper being ripped and torn and crumpled because the show title Torn to Pieces. And then they have an indigo colored door in the back right. And then they have like a chaise lounge dead center of the floor, same color. And then in the back left, they have a prop that's covered up that you don't see until later in the show, and they rip it off and it's like a cracked mirror, which might be what the floor is supposed to be, like a cracked mirror. Look at me connecting dots over here. Look at me. They start with body and saber, and they have a great solo saber toss at the beginning. Just a little soundtrack advice: you might want to get a little better beep on that bullsh in the soundtrack because I'm like, did they? I really had to like stop. Like, did they bleep that? Like, it didn't sound like it was bleeped at all at first. I was like, oh, I was doing a little pearl clutch at first. I'm like, this is a high school thing. You can't be just throwing those four-letter words out there. You're gonna get in trouble. People get mad when two boys hold hands, and then you're gonna throw this four-letter word out there. But anyway. Sabers and body continue until a purple flag gets introduced. And then we have a saber flag feature that's really nice. They have a cool moment with a saber ripple to the door, and then a rifle tosses over the prop, opens the door, walks through, and catches it. Unfortunately, the rifle hit the door in finals, but it'll be a very cool moment once they iron out all those kinks. And the kids have a good amount of talent, and they move pretty well and they spin pretty well, but the show needs more weight. I mentioned this in the Kansas City regional about a show or two, where the song carries a lot of weight and an emotion, right? And a heaviness and a rawness to it. And then the guard just looks too pretty, right? Like I want that heavy, that weight, that raw emotion. There's like pain and anger in the song, and the guard feels like they're floating around instead of channeling that emotion. So that's my one tidbit here is solidify telling your story and drawing the audience in more, and then now we're talking to the GE judges, right? Generating effect and emotional effect, and you have 40 points up there to work with. So grab them and get those performers into it, right? Feel the pain that's in Kelly Clarkson's voice. They move on to a flag ensemble and they have these cool pink flags and they do a nice little fake out where you think they're going to flag ensemble and then they have a very nice solo toss. She does a sit roll under a horizontal. It's very, very nice. I really like it. And then they do an actual little feature. Then they move into more body and rifle soloists come back out. And then the rifle smack at the end of the show. Very nice job. Very nice job. The show is nice. And yeah, it just needs more emotion to connect with the soundtrack. Get in touch with that pain. Get in touch with that anger, that rawness, and just show me that. You shouldn't be prettily walking around the floor smiling to this song. Does that make sense? Great job, Baldwinsville. Moving on to fourth place, we had Worthington Kilbourne High School and their show Sacred Geometry. And they came over from Ohio, so they made a nice little trip for this one. And their floor is lots of brown where it's like a marbled effect and they have the golden ratio symbol, the Fibonacci sequence ratio on it. And then there's scribbles in the background behind it and other circles. And they have a pre-show with a voiceover about the golden ratio and sacred geometry. It's where we're going with all of this. And the costuming is cool with lots of interesting like curves and weaving lines. And they're very busy, but not distracting. And it looks like they may have a green panel like on their back shoulder kind of thing, because I think that incorporates to the coloring of the show later. They start with a body feature at the center of that golden ratio symbol. And eventually a beautiful iridescent solo flag is added. And it's like, it's one of those flags that kind of changes colors as it goes. You've seen those people that paint their cars in the rainbow metallic, and depending on the way you're looking at it, it's a pink car or a yellow car or a green car. This flag is very much the same way, and you get shades of brown and gold and green, and the way the light hits it, it's really cool, really pretty. And those are kind of all the colors in the uniform too, and on the floor. It's very, very nice. Rifle solos enter. The rifles are strong, and then we move along with flag and rifle until a very nice feature on a staccato part of the music where they have a flag ripple into a rifle ripple ended with a really nice backhanded catch with a soloist. So it was like do 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 do, and you just had a nice sharp ripple. It was really well done. Really, really cool moment. Very effective. I liked it. Sabers then enter kind of in a down moment, a little more softer moment, and the same flags continue with the sabers. They have some saber solos before a green flag with a gold lame arc is introduced, kind of like the arc of the golden ratio. So that's why it's a golden lame strip in the green flag. Look at that. We're connecting more dots. My brain is firing on like most cylinders right now. And then this is also their ensemble flag. And they do a full floor ensemble. They're filling the floor and then they condense down into side two, continue the feature, and then the soundtrack cuts out and they have this nice 45 tossing you hear this nice from the silks. Very nice. It's not a full rip. It's like a 45 toss with a soft rip. So it's really nice. And the show is nice and the guards seem to be trained quite well. I would just kind of look at transition moments as some of them seem a little forced, but I think there's a really good blueprint here that I don't see a glaring issue in this one. I say issue, you know what I mean. Let's move on to third place. We had Unionville High School with The Place I Call Home. And this was a show all about the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. And if you've ever met an Eagles fan, you definitely question that statement of city of brotherly love. Like, no shade. I'm just being playful, but somehow Eagle fans are nasty. But no, we love you. We love you. They have a tan floor that looks kind of like if you'd see a picture of the Constitution, just like that faded parchment color. They have like little lightly stamped pictures of iconic Philadelphia landmarks that are kind of on the floor. And then they have 4, like, actual tangible props that are the L, O, V, and E that we've seen in the stacked letter sign. They stack them in a square, and the O is tilted, and it spells out love. I'm pretty sure that's, like, a big landmark in Philadelphia, like the bean in Chicago, the big shiny bean. They're dressed in, like, a they're dressed as, like, a dark purple or burgundy. They're really pretty, but, flow camera, I'm trying to figure out what they are. And, like, the breast and, like, shoulder area and then, like, the thigh, like, down to because the dresses go to, like, the knee. So, like, the knee up to about the waist are all, like, the dark color, and then it starts to bleed into a really light shade right in the middle of the stomach area. It's really pretty, but once again, I can't tell if it's purple or burgundy, and I guess I could go to Instagram and find it out, but I'm busy. I gotta get this recorded because I have work tomorrow, and so I'm just gonna guess. They start with body, and then they pick up stars off of the floor, and they're just like the ones you would see on the American flag. And they have a solo flag that comes out, throws this 45 with a turn, jump, stag, leap thingy underneath it. Beautiful, gorgeous. And then they have a saber soloist that catches a blade toss behind her back. Gorgeous. These kids have a lot of talent and they do a lot of tricks. We continue with saber and flag, and the flags are digitally printed and have the word Philly written on them, kind of in a cursive script, but not super cursive. Like you can clearly read it. And then they move into partner work with exchanges with the flag, and it's really nice. I do think sometimes they're doing just a little too much, and I think they could be more successful if they dialed back just a touch. Some of the tricks and the big moments that they're trying to do, they kind of fall flat because of breaks or drops. So if this were my guard, that's probably where I'd look. I'm not saying get out the watering hose. I'm not saying you need to take the fire hose to it. Maybe get the watering can though. Just sprinkle a little water. We're at a 10. Let's bring it down to a 9, 8.5, right? If that's what I'm saying. So just to make the moments more successful. So I would dial it back just a little bit to like an 8.5, 9. So the tricks aren't super hard. Like we're not doing our huge tricks. We're just doing our big tricks just to really make those moments successful and impactful. The rifles come out, and again, here, just kind of the same thing. Just really, just kind of let's solidify that and have some really nice moments and dial those tricks back just a touch, just a touch. But you guys are doing great things here. These kids are incredibly talented. They clearly have the skill set. And I saw them last year with their Sisyphus show with the big boulder. Same thing, lots of tricks. These kids can definitely spin. The show continues, and then the flag ensemble starts. They have a flag that's mostly tan, and it's got some red kind of around the edging. And then in that spin spot, like I referenced earlier with another guard, they have the LOVE stamped on the flag, and they do a really nice flag feature. And then they bring the props into the center of the floor, and they assemble the LOVE right in the middle of the floor. These big, bright, beautiful red, like just when you think red, like they are red. They're really pretty, and they got a nice sheen to them. They set them up, and then we have one final soloist, and then they kinda end around there. So, the kids are incredibly talented, the show is nice. I would just work on dialing back just a touch to make all of those impact moments way more successful. Great job, Unionville. Let's move on to second place, which was Victor High School, and their show Mirror, Mirror. And they are all dressed like the evil queen from Snow White, and they have a big mirror prop on a stage in the back of side 2 in the back corner. I noticed when they were opening their floor that it's the same floor that Arlington High School used for their Lizzie Borden show when they won Scholastic A, and I love it. 1, it's gorgeous, and 2, I'm all for, like, upcycling, recycling, whatever you wanna call it, and saving money and buying and reusing, because let's be real, this activity is crazy expensive, and you know what? If I can get somebody's floor and make another amazing show out of it, go for it. I love it. I'm looking at this floor, I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is Arlington's floor. Get it, Victor. I love it. Save that money. The music is an acoustic cover of Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson. And as I said before, the stream was really jumpy for Victor. Like kids were teleporting around the floor, which would be really cool if, your kids could actually do that. But unfortunately, we don't have that technology yet. So their tosses, it looked like you were watching rifle tosses in slow-mo because the way the rotations would just stop because of the jumping. So unfortunately, Victor, I didn't get the best read on your show, but I'm going off of what I could see. They start on the edge of side one, and then they come out doing body work, and their uniforms have like these organza skirts, and you can see through them that are actually detachable. They take them off later in the show. And so they're playing with the skirts, and they incorporate that into the body. And then they have a big saber solo that comes out in front of the mirror prop. And I will say the show is staged very well. Great job on the staging. They introduce a red flag that comes out from behind the prop, and then along the sleeve part of the silk, it has like the mirror and the silhouette of a woman on the mirror on the flag. And the flag line feels a little bit pedestrian and could use some more love and energy. So, Victor, that's kind of what I would do. I would kind of look at my flag line and be like, give them a little more because your weapons are great. And I feel like your flag line is not up to par with your weapon line. Kids could be new. We all have this happen for a multitude of reasons. I'm just going off what I see, and the judges are going to do the same thing, right? Unfortunately, the judges don't care if all your kids are new. They're going to be like, well, okay, well, that doesn't matter to me. I go off of what I see. We move on to saber and flags in a nice moment before we have a ripple toss that takes us to the rifle entrances. The red flags stay out and the rifles are spinning with them. The rifles are strong and they have a nice feature around the mirror prop. And then this is where the soundtrack really starts to pick up. And this is where I feel like the show really starts to gain some life. It's a little subdued at the beginning and you're kind of like, okay, where are we going? You got to take me somewhere. I mean, there are good moments, but the show really starts to grab you here. The flags leave the floor and they rip the skirts off, and then they introduce a purple flag that's very similar to the red. It matches the purple of the uniform to go with the purple of the evil queen. And then they really start to carry the energy and they pick up the energy from the soundtrack with the choreography and then the motion on the floor. They also do like a solo flag toss into a full ensemble. And it's just an explosion of silk. It's a very nice flag feature. It's the best part of the show. And then we all end up in front of the mirror, and that's the close of the show. I like it. What I would do is I would just look at the flag line, especially those red flags, and just kind of, how can we liven this up a little bit, beef it up a little bit, give it a little extra, to keep up with the weapons. But great job. I liked Victor last year. I like them again this year. I don't believe they're going to Dayton this year, though, but I hope to see them again. Maybe they'll be at Bethlehem. Our first place color guard in Scholastic A was John C. Bertelbaugh High School and their show called The End. And they were a finalist from last year. They were actually 6th in Scholastic A, and they just missed getting bumped to open with their Elvis show last year. We know this is a good guard right from the get-go. Their floor is the Looney Tunes ending circle that Porky the Pig would pop out of and say, that's all, folks. It's those concentric circles that kind of bleed down. And then in the center, it says The End in like the Looney Tunes font. And they use a couple of songs. One is an English cover of Time to Say Goodbye that's originally done in Italian, and it's Italian and English mix by Andrea Bocelli and Sarah Brightman. And then it goes into a cover of It's the End of the World by REM. And Paramount actually used a bit of this in their End of the World show a few years back. So shout out to Doria at Paramount. Hey, girl. Hey. But if you've seen that show, you'll be like, oh, I've heard this before. They're a small guard. There are only 11 performers on the floor. And let me tell you, this guard is trained. Holy crap, this guard is trained. This is probably one of the best trained color guards I've seen in A class like ever. They do everything the same. They release, they catch, their toss angles, their body positions. It's all the same. This staff knows what they're doing. And this is why this guard has been so successful in A class is because their training. It is exquisite. They open with body into a saber solo, and then there's more sabers and flag. And it's so very well done. The sabers are strong. The flags are strong. Everyone's strong. I'm strong. You're strong. We're all strong and beautiful. And then the sabers eventually pick up a flag and they join in for a flag feature. They play with the lyrics of the song where they say building bridges and then they lean back and make a bridge with their bodies. Like I love little nuggets like that guards do when they play with the lyrics. They move into rifle and a new flag. We have knee spin turnarounds from the rifle line. Flags are throwing beautiful 45s and 4 count doubles. And these kids are just so good. I'm surprised this didn't score higher. I really am. Just with just how well they're trained. And I think the show is staged very well. I'm surprised it didn't score higher. They have another flag feature where they're kind of rotating around the circle while there's two dancers in the middle. And then one of the flags get passed off to one of the dancers in the middle. And he does this cool under the leg 45 slide on the ground and catch and kind of ends the show that way. It is so, 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 so good. It looks great. Honestly, if this were my guard, I'd probably look at beefing up the repertoire because I was looking at the recap and they're already pretty clean and they're very close and already starting to max out the downstairs captions. So eventually you're going to start maxing out and you don't want to do that, especially this early. So I would probably look at beefing some of that up so we can get those numbers higher, right? Like, because your kids are already kind of like they're close to mastering what they're doing, and it's February 14th. Like, I think you can give them more to do. So that's what I would do. It's very nicely done, and it should totally make finals again in Dayton. Love it. Mwah. Independent A, we had one unit. In first place was New Hartford and their show called The Market. And I believe this is a high school that went independent. So I think the performers are a little young when you look at it. So comparing it to another independent guard, you might not get the equivalent skill set. But I really like this show. They have a cool brown stone tiled floor with a bunch of multicolored fabric panels on a big display, probably 10, 12 feet high on side two. And then on side one, they have like a whole pottery stand that they set up, like you'd see in like a Middle Eastern or Mediterranean market. That's kind of the vibe they're giving you. And the costuming is pretty. They're like a magenta color with gold accents. And the show is very cute. I like it. It's a nice, cute A-class show. They start out with body and they introduce sabers with some tosses. And they have a sky-high saber solo into a flag explosion. You know I love a flag explosion. And the flags are that magenta color of the uniform, and it has gold hints on the silk as well. And the biggest thing that they need to work on is confidence. This guard looks really unsure of themselves, and it'll drastically help sell the production if they're confident. Even if you're wrong, be confident about it. That's something I always taught my kids was I want you to go out there and own the gym, right? I don't care if you are 4 counts ahead. You need to look like you know what you're doing because once you start looking like you're wrong, you make that face, then all of a sudden I zero in on you and I'm like, she's wrong or he's wrong. They're doing the wrong work. I don't know. Maybe there's 16 of you on the floor and that one girl's supposed to be spinning the other way. She's selling it like she's doing it the right way. You know, that's what I'm talking about. Be confident. And this guard, they just look like they're really unsure of what they're doing. And it could be because they're young and it could be because it's early in the season. But I think what would really help this program is just go out there and own it. Sell it to me, baby. Sell it, sell it, sell it. We have rifle solos enter, and then we move to rifles and flags with a new peach color silk. Again, very pretty. The color story is great in this show. Kids have some good talent. Like I said, we just need to sell it. The peach and rifle section needs a little more energy. The soundtrack is very driving. It's like doom, 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 and they're just kind of slowly moving around the floor. But that can easily be adjusted. Like you can just quickly just change the staging so we're taking a faster step size, weave people in and out of each other, just create the motion from that boom, doom, doom, doom that we're hearing. And then we have another rifle solo, and then these really pretty, like emerald colored sheer flags come out, and we have a nice flag feature with them. The show has a lot of great moments and tons of potential. I don't think they're going to Dayton. I think they're just a local independent guard. Not ragging on it. I was in one of those local independent guards, so I'm not ragging on that at all. It just needs to be sold and have some more energy infused in that peach section. But I really like this one. It's a cute show. It's a very cute A-class show. Great job. Moving on to our final unit, and we are moving to Independent Open. We had one unit. In first place was the Brigadiers. They have come back out, and I didn't get their show title. I didn't write it down. I'm going to leave this in because I'm making a fool of myself right now. What is their show title? Anyway, I'll tell you what the show's about. Their floor is gray. It's a gray sky with lots of large clouds on it. And they have huge white fabric backdrops that fill the back of the floor. So if you are in this circuit, you can't see them from behind. They did do a really cool thing where they announced the performers could go up because they were in one of those gyms that had like the balcony up top above the gym floor. So they told everybody in the back after the independent A guard is done, go upstairs so you can watch Brigadiers because you're not gonna be able to see anything because they had very short bleachers in the back. Like there's literally you couldn't even climb to the top of the bleachers to see it. So the announcer was like, "We'll give you time. Go up there so you can watch it," which I thought was cool. I thought that was a very cool thing for them to do. Because some of these shows, they'd be like, "Sorry, girl, you didn't pay for a ticket. You don't get to see it." But anyway, they have flag stands that kind of sit on a 45 and are on wheels. So, a lot of guards use those flag stands where they'll put the flag in it and it just sits there and the silk drapes down. So they use those. They have one for everybody, but they're also on wheels so they can move them around. The soundtrack starts with the pre-show, and it's mixed voiceovers from all the performers, and it's kind of like about dealing with bullying and depression and things like that, and kind of how they processed all of that and how they dealt with that kind of trauma. And then it continues in the actual show soundtrack, and they mix it with snips of like Somewhere Over the Rainbow and Tomorrow from Annie, but I think it's Barbara Streisand singing or it's somebody Barbara adjacent. Sounds very much like her. And then in the pre-show, they pass a white flag around and everyone tosses it once. And it's a little bit distracting, but I think it's really just to like, okay, here's your chance to adjust to the lights. Everybody gets a chance to spin this so they can adjust to the lighting, which is kind of smart. And then before the show starts, everyone ends up in side two front corner. They all come out of side two front corner with a blue flag and they perform a flag feature on the front of the floor with it. And then they move to the flag stands and they place their flags in it. Sabers come out as the soundtrack transitions to a spoken word. And, props to spinning the spoken word here because that is tough. And they do it really well. And then Tomorrow, the song Tomorrow starts up from Annie. Not actually from Annie, but the song Tomorrow starts up. And the flag line pushes the stands out onto the floor and it divides the floor in half on a 45. So from side one front to side two back corner, these stands just kind of make a line. It's not a solid wall. There's probably like 10 of them, but it's enough to divide the floor. And in the front corner on side two, they start to introduce a yellow and orange flag, which is really pretty. Obviously, for the sun will come out, right? The sun will come out, the sun's coming out. And then the sabers are in the back corner of side one. And they have a feature there where each are on each side of this wall of the flag stands. Then we move the flag stands back to the edge while we do a saber and yellow flag feature. And then the flags have a moment where the sabers go behind the props, they switch to gun, and then they come back out and they do a ripple toss across in front, ending with a double turn that she smacked in finals, which was very nice. Yes. Then we switch back to the blue-gray flags from the beginning, but with a twist, everyone has two. So they do a double flag feature with a soloist of a double rifle in the center. And the double rifle is really cool. She has this solo where she throws just like a left-handed toss with one. And then she throws this really quick, like single horizontal with the other right above her head underneath the other toss, catches it, and then catches the gun in the original toss in her right hand. Really cool, quick little moment. And I was like, ooh, I like that. I like that. I do think the double flag feature could be more. Like I want you to spin both of them. Right now I'm spinning one and holding the other. So I want you to spin both of them, really, really make that more impactful. And then they end with a final voiceover and then a quick flag duet change. They each throw 45. They walk around each other, catch, and then the girl runs into the group and they lift her up and then the show ends. Yeah, I liked it. It's the soundtrack. You got to listen to the soundtrack. There's a lot of voiceover. So if you don't like the big voiceover shows, sorry, but that's what it is. And great job. And they're going to Dayton. So we'll see how they do. I'm sure they're going to come back out to another regional. I wonder if they're going to be at Bethlehem. I don't know. We'll have to see. But that's it for this regional. It was like I said, it was a smaller regional. I kind of took a little more time with the A guards on this one than I did the other one. And I'm going to be covering the Indie Regional. I'll probably release a immediate reaction Saturday night, maybe early Sunday morning of what I thought. I don't know. I'm going to play with it. We'll see how it works. I'm going to test the waters. If it flops, I won't do it again. But I don't know how I'm going to do both Indie and Philly. You guys don't want a 4-hour episode unless you do. If you do, tell me. I'll do one. Probably not, though. I don't want to talk that long. I love color guard, but I don't want to sit here in my little recording studio that gets very hot because of all of the sound panels on the wall. There's no air circulation in here, and I can't have a fan going because then you'll hear in the background the whole time. So I get a little hot in here sometimes. Anybody who's interviewed with me will tell you I am beat red by the time we're done interviewing, but I'm rambling. I'm going to shut up. You all have a wonderful week. Best of luck to everybody at all the regionals this coming weekend. I will be at Indy. If you're going to be there, message me. I would love to meet you. I'd love to take a picture with you. I get so many messages from people we listen to the podcast, blah, blah, blah. I would love to actually meet you. I just, Color Guard is a cult and we make these instant bonds and connections over flags in a gym. And I love it so much. Not my podcast. I mean, just like the activity of flags in a gym. Like I said, I'm rambling. I'm going to shut up now. So until next time, stay safe, stay fabulous. And remember, at the end of the day, it's just flags in a gym.